Riptide. Written by Swartz. Narrated by Kasten. Chapter 1. I could feel the ocean breeze coming through the open classroom window and dance across the room. The smell of the sea was just as strong. It reminded me of what I was missing while I was cooped up in that hot-as-fuck classroom in a school that didn't seem to know what air conditioning was. The skin that was exposed around my tank top that just passed dress code kept sticking to my chair. I wouldn't be surprised if when I stood up, there would be one large puddle of sweat covering the seat. No amount of water chugging could ease the heat. I fanned myself with a worksheet that Mr. Turner handed out to us at the beginning of class. We were supposed to use it to follow along with the lesson. To me, it was the best source I could find to replace a fan. Other students in the class had the same idea. I could hear the movements of the papers as they went up and down, sending each student a cool breeze to fan their faces. Mr. Turner was discussing the fall of the Roman Empire, or something Italy culture from a few thousand years ago, when the classroom door creaked open slowly. I looked over, as did everyone else, to see Jay Collin crouching his way into the classroom, his University of Charleston cap shielding his face from Mr. Turner. He was the only senior in junior year history, and it was a class that he always found himself being late for. Mr. Turner crossed his arms as he sent a deadly glare towards Jay.
"Just because you're crouching doesn't mean I cannot see you."
Jay was near the back row of desks when he received Mr. Turner's statement. He stood up with a cocky grin, like always. He lifted his cap up, finally making eye contact with Mr. Turner.
"Sorry, Mr. T. I had family stuff going on."
Mr. Turner nodded slowly, not at all convinced.
"That is your excuse every time. Try to be creative every once in a while,"
Mr. Turner exclaimed, annoyed. Whenever Jay was late for class, he would make up some elaborate excuse that involved family problems, and it was always about the same family member, which made it even more unbelievable. "My grandmother died," Jay said, obviously lying, and that was the family member.
"That's your 7th grandmother to die this semester."
Before Jay could badly defend himself any further, Mr. Turner pointed towards Jay's regular seat, signaling him to sit down.
"See me after class, Jason."
Jay absolutely hated being called Jason. He told teachers at the beginning of every semester that he preferred to be called Jay, but most didn't shy away from calling him Jason when they were annoyed with him, which was frequent.
"Not if I see you first,"
Jay said sarcastically and leaned back on his chair, perspiration already coating his skin. Out of all the classrooms at that godforsaken school, Mr. Turner's was the hottest and most humid. Not even having the windows opened could help reduce the unbearable heat. In fact, that only made it hotter. "And take off that hat," Mr. Turner ordered. Jay removed his hat from his head dramatically and placed it down on his desk.
"Are we good now?"
Mr. Turner ignored him and immediately went back into the lesson. "Hey, Hennessy," I heard a whisper from behind me. I turned to see Jay, leaning forward on his desk, a couple of rows behind me. "What?" I asked, annoyed. "What are we learning right now?" I scoffed and pointed my pen toward the front of the room. "Look at the board, dipshit." He imitated my scoff. "Who are you calling dipshit, dipshit?" "Just focus on the lesson. I can always help you with it later," I tried to assure him. Jay had lived next door to my family for over 10 years. We were friendly to each other, but that was at the request of my brother Tanner. Jay was one of Tanner's closest friends. They became close after Tanner invited Jay over to play video games on his new gaming system shortly after Jay and his family moved in. Our home was like his second home. I woke up in the morning, and there was a big fat ass of a chance that he was sitting with my family, eating breakfast. He stayed at our house more than he stayed at his, but he did annoy the shit out of me. I was so relieved when the bell rang, signaling the end of class.